Good morning, everybody watching this Facebook Live broadcast from the Governor's Balloon Safaris Facebook page. Probably an audience of 0 so far, but as we go through the course, there we go, we've got one viewer. Fantastic stuff. Hello to you, whoever you are. Hopefully there'll be a few more watching over the course of the next 45 minutes to an hour or so, as we float over the world's most romantic wilderness area, which of course is the Masai Mara. There we are over the riverine vegetation, just fringing the river, and I think the wind looks to me like it's blowing quite a long way further from the west towards the east today, and so, well, it should be very interesting to see where they fetch up today. There is the great river itself, not quite the raging torrent that is, say, the Colorado, or perhaps even the upper reaches of the Nile, but a massively, massively important piece of ecology in this area. There's a crocodile doing a 360, or hippo, sorry, and another huge pod of hippos there. It's a good start to our drive. Not really our drive, our flight over the winding Mara River. There's another enormous raft of hippos. You can see I'm going to use a different collective noun for hippos every time I talk about them today. Most of them will probably be nonsense. There are the other balloons from Governor's Balloon Safaris. Those two beautifully coloured ones, pristine as they are, floating gently behind this one. Of course, they must inevitably do that because there is no control over these things at all. Hello Sharon, hello Janine, hello James Richard, hello Kathy. You say this is wonderful. Yes, Kathy, it is wonderful. And I must just tell you, I've done this once in my life. And that was, well, about 2 weeks ago. And it was very, very special indeed. It was exactly as special just as you would imagine it to be. And this is now Senzor's third flight also. And he is very much enjoying it as well. He gets to do this as his job, float down over the Masai Mara in a balloon. It's 15 degrees Celsius, 59 degrees Fahrenheit apparently. And so it's pretty chilly out there in the pre-dawn. The sun has probably just peeped up over the horizon. You could just sort of see it there, but there's quite a lot of cloud in the east. I'm looking due east now, and I can actually see the balloons floating by past my window, which now mercifully has no cracks in it, which is wonderful. Hello, Marcy, and John, and Sharon, and Janine again. Janine, you're saying lucky Senzo. Yes, indeed, he's very lucky, isn't he? And you know, he'd never flown in a balloon before this time, and now he does it sort of on a, well, almost daily basis. Now, I'd never flown in a balloon either. Please send us any questions or comments that you might have. We'll see what we can find for you during the course of the safari. Of course, requests, something of a waste of time here because, well, things are rather transient in the balloon. We can't really stop it. We can't really predict what we're going to see. So we just take what comes as we float down over the river. There is another hippopotamus and another, well, school of them there on the northern side of the river. I'm rather hoping that we are going to be able to see a few leopards, well, a leopard or two in this riverine vegetation while we float over it. But I'm not sure if that's going to be possible. I imagine it will be a fairly fleeting glimpse. Perhaps a few elephants, perhaps a few buffalo that are just emerging, sleepy-eyed, hopefully to graze peacefully on the grasses. I would very much like to be the buffalo in this area rather than in others because there seems to be a reticence on the part of the lions to eat the buffalo over here because there's so much else to eat. Stacey, you say, can I explain what contingency plans are if the balloon comes down inside a pride of lions? Well, luckily, Stacey, although they cannot control the direction of the balloon, they can control whether it goes up or down. And so, should there be a pride of lions lurking about in the grassland around the breakfast site, you can be very sure that they would not land in them. Hello, little Cindy Lou. Joe, hello. The cliff next to the river looks like walls from the sky. They do look like walls, don't they? Now, this is quite an interesting angle that the pilot's taking. I've never seen them go this low in between the banks before, so he's obviously quite a brave fellow. You can see the hippo do not like the balloon. That is obvious. It's pointless me not pointing it out to you, but it is a very transient experience for them. As you can see, the balloon is going to disappear from their lives very shortly. And so although, yes, the animals do certainly sometimes get a fright from the balloons, well, I think it's okay because they are not subjected to the stress for very long at all, just a few seconds. That is remarkable flying. Let me just tell you that what the pilot has achieved there is very difficult. I think that must be Little Governor's Camp. They really are flying in a strange direction today. Senzo might never return. Anyway, I think that's Little Governor's Camp. No, in fact, that's the main Governor's Camp, probably. I'm not sure. Doesn't matter. Well, the point is that the pilot, in order to fly like he's just done, in between the banks of the river like that and then up over the top, he has to predict how quickly he can get the balloon into the air. Now, that's difficult because it doesn't react immediately. It's not like pushing the joystick or controls on an aeroplane, for example. There is a delay between him firing the burners and then the actual balloon taking off and going higher up into the air. So it really does take an immense amount of skill on the part of the pilot. Hello, all of you. I'm just going to see if we have any questions here. Oh, there we go. Liz, you say, do we have any plans to visit the Tulloch River region or the Double Cross areas? Liz, not in the balloon. No, definitely not. We don't want to go there. The wind would have to be blowing seriously in the wrong direction for that to happen. I was there yesterday. We saw the Double Crossing area. Didn't spend a huge amount of time there. There seems to be someone's hand in the way there. That's obviously a very excited tourist. There are some cheetah around that area, Liz, but I haven't spent a huge amount of time there. I'll probably go back there at some time. Many comments about how beautiful this is. Yes. Joe, you say, can I explain the relationship between hippos and crocs? Respectful distance? I'm not sure how respectful it is, but yes, there is a distance. Although we had a fascinating experience the other day at one of the crossings as we watched a couple of egrets taking to the sky underneath that other balloon there. We had an experience where we watched hippos sort of either trying to muscle in to a zebra carcass that was being eaten by crocodiles, or they were trying to chase the crocodiles off. So I don't think it's a very respectful relationship at all. I don't think they like each other in the slightest. And so, yeah, they avoid each other when they can. I think it's more the crocodiles actually avoiding the hippos. That's what it looks like to me. I think that is the Masai Mara National Reserve that we're in there. I think that we are on the eastern bank of the river. And that's interesting. I think that the wind is blowing into the Masai Mara National Reserve as opposed to the Mara Triangle where we normally land. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Hello, Sharon. You're all the way from Durban. It's quite early for you to be up, I suppose, but well done to you. Stacey, you said, did yesterday's wildebeest herd that I was with make their way to the river? Well, they wouldn't be here yet. They would be still a long, long way to the south. Yes, we are indeed on the eastern side of the river now. I can see perfectly. There's the Olololo escarpment off to the far western side of where you're looking. And we're hoping, of course, that Senzor will return, but if they land on that side of the river, well, it's going to be a long day for young Senzor. I'm sure he won't mind. It is quite fun, as you say there, Stacey, how you can see them firing the burners. Isn't that great? Janine, you say, what is that ring? I don't know if you've spotted that, anyone else, but that's a really good observation from Janine. It's an old sort of bend in the river that's filled with sand, Janine. That's what that is. It looks like a ring, but it's just a sort of bank that's come away and it's made a sort of hollow in the ground there. Beverly, you say you have no audio. I'm very sorry about that, Beverly. I think obviously there must be some audio everywhere else, but just keep us posted on that. Sharon, you say what a spectacular view. Absolutely spectacular. And I think the wind is blowing quite gently today. So that is Governor's Camp to the left-hand side there. And it is Little Governor's out of which these balloons operate. Little Governor's is just the other side of the river. On our side of the river, the Mara Triangle side. And I was driving around this very area yesterday. And driving around this area, just very special, but not a lot of grass. So I'm not sure how many wildebeest are going to come up to this particular area, but the other side of the river, on the triangle side, there seems to be a lot more. So I suspect they'll come up there at some stage. We're obviously now looking to the east-northeast, and in the distance there you can see possibly the governor's airstrip. I think that's that straight bit just disappearing now through the right-hand side of your screen. Good. Some of you saying you do have audio. That's excellent. Lorene, you say it's past your bedtime. I'm sorry about that. You know, some of us, of course, the day have just started. Donna, you say, is this the Masai Mara in Kenya? Absolutely. Sorry. Little Cindy Lou, you're answering Donna's question for me. Thank you very much. Donna, we are in the Masai Mara in Kenya. Absolutely. And it is amazing, John, how far, as you say, you can see in all directions. There's the sun popping up now. You can see just on the far right-hand side. Now, we're very high up today. I think probably well over 1,000 feet above the valley floor, which is, of course, about, well, let's call it 300 meters or so. And I think they're probably up that high in order to catch a bit of a breeze, because they do seem to be moving very slowly today. There is the sun, and that is the airstrip that you can see down below the sun there. And I was driving around there yesterday, a number of Thompson's gazelles, mainly Thompson's gazelles actually, a couple of topi. Everyone likes a topi in the morning. Hello, Abhijit, you say you're from Kolkata, and good morning. Yes, hello, good morning to you. Ali, you say, is it much colder up there in the balloon? I thought it was going to be very cold, but it actually isn't. And I'm not sure why. I think it's probably got a lot to do with the burners, actually. You know, the burners keep the air pretty warm when they're firing, and perhaps it's just the excitement that keeps you quite warm. Yeah, it's moving very slowly today, and they're very high up. It's very exciting to be up there now. Donna and little Cindy Lou York thanking me. Well, thank you both for interacting with each other on my behalf. Now, you can see lots of those rings that we were asked about earlier. You can see there, that's one there, just to the left-hand side of that balloon. And those are just pieces of the river, the bends that have turned into, well, I suppose oxbow lakes, really, and then dried out over the years. And they don't look particularly old. And I suspect if this river does come down in an enormous flood, you'll probably find that those areas will, from there, another two either side of the river, another bend in the river there that definitely turned into an oxbow lake and then disappeared. You can see that very clearly. Lots of animal paths there. There's a vehicle driving along underneath, I suspect, either on Game Drive or trying desperately to fathom where this balloon is going to land. At the moment, Senzel's chances of making it back by lunchtime, very slim indeed. And often, of course, we will go much lower down than this and we'll spot some animals, but from this height it's going to be quite difficult to look at the animals. But, of course, we can just take in the immense magnificence of the scenery that is the Masai Mara. And it really is. It's an iconic wilderness area for a very good reason. It is magnificent to look at. I think, certainly along the rivers and just away is one of the most spectacular visited. It's just life everywhere. There is some zebra. You can being slowly upon the balloon. Almost looks like you'd like to lie down on top of that balloon, doesn't it? I promise you wouldn't, though. Kobe, you say, I'm the person who answered your question live TV. Well, Kobe, I remember your question. Well, I remember you. I don't actually remember your question, but thank you very much for answering it. And please remember, of course, for those of you who are watching this and enjoying it, well, we are going to be on television yet again on Friday evening, 11 o'clock Eastern Time on Nat Geo Wild. For those of you who are not living in the United States and do not have Nat Geo Wild, you can watch it on the internet at wildsafarilive.com. But don't tell anyone. Sharon, you say, you miss me back at Juma. Well, I'm sorry about that, Sharon, but I'm currently engaged in a balloon safari, which is very exciting indeed. Janine, you say, so the plains are not black with wildebeest. Some plains are, absolutely. I saw two very, very much larger than the other, and a number of sort of sporadic, if you like. But you can see the Olololo escarpment there. That's that mountain range that you can see down there. And as we swing to the left, all the way down there, just about where it starts to sort of fade away, there was a massive herd of wildebeest and zebra. Coming, well, a number of different herds coming north in stripes along different pathways, different old pathways that they come on. So I think they're not too long away from the triangle. Of course, these predictions are silly, though, because they can turn around and go the other way. And then a very long way to the east and south, around Sala's camp, where Brent spends his time when we're doing the TV shows, there was an enormous herd of wildebeest there. And I think that's where most of the wildebeest are congregating at the moment. Those are some zebra, from what I can tell. And they, of course, at this height are not going to be vaguely affected. Marion, you say, am I in the balloon or in the studio? Marion, let me just be quiet for 1 second. I'm most certainly in the studio, Marion. It wouldn't sound like that if I was in the balloon. It would sound like this. And then when they fired the burners, it would sound like this. And then it would be impossible for you to hear me talking. So there we go. Right now, where are we? How many passengers in the balloon, Sharon? Well, let's see if we can count them there. You can count them. I'd say, I think the limit is 4 per pod, and there are 4 pods, so 16 or so. Since Enzo, I think, is probably taking up the space of 2, not because he's big, but because he's carrying a very large camera. Joe, you say, what a start to the day. Absolutely it is. And of course these pilots get to do this every single day, which is very exciting for them. Stacey, you say, woot woot Ali. Oh, I see. It's someone called Ali's birthday. Well, happy birthday, Ali. I hope you're having a nice time. Patricia, you say that I hope we're having a blast, and we absolutely are. You also say my interior decorating skills are exceptional, of course. Like Coke's Hartebeest, I think. I'm joking about my decorating skills. They're non-existent. Right, we're back up again. Sorry about this. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. I'm not even sure. I think I might need to refresh my little feed here. 1 second, everybody. Anyway, we're in the balloon with Governor's Balloon Safaris. And, well, I'm just going to get back to the broadcast on my page so I can answer your questions. There we are, floating over the Great Plains, of course. Masai Mara, no less. I'm just quickly loading you up again, everybody, so I can continue talking to you. I must apologise for the loss of stream. Oh, we've only got 6 people with us now. Any more? Oh, don't blame, shame. Must have been difficult to experience such gremlins and break up. You're all coming back now. Hello, yes, sorry about that, everyone. Oh, various technical glitches. It's not an easy thing bringing you a high-definition signal out of the middle of the wilderness here in East Africa. And Senzo is creating a rather spectacular picture there. Isn't that beautiful? I think that's just marvellous. So for the 12, 14 of you watching, I hope you're enjoying your balloon safari. Now you can see some areas, absolutely no trees at all. Now this is not the same area that we've flown over before. This is definitely over the eastern side now, I think, of the river, if I'm not mistaken. And so I haven't flown over this area with the balloon safaris. I think it's just really interesting to be in such a different area. This is pretty much, I think, we're going over the marsh, or certainly close to the marsh, which used to be the home of the Marsh Pride, of course, made